All right. You are looking at sold out MetLife Stadium with today. The 16-0 playoff bound New York Giants are taking on the 0-16 Miami Dolphins. And why are the Miami Dolphins 0-16? Because they suck. They haven't won a Super Bowl since 1973. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 50 years because they suck. The Miami Dolphins suck. They suck. Man, that cracks me up every time. Welcome to the Gridiron. Anybody out there at all that's going to spend a little bit of time with me here this evening, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you. We're very much going to spend time watching the replay this once again. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means the world to me. Going to try to go about 30 minutes here tonight. Shoot my mouth off for about 30 minutes. Anybody got anything to say, please feel free to fire away. Throw it in the chat box. Usually try to check on the chat box like every 5 or 10 minutes or so. So as soon as I see something in there, I try to respond to it as fast as I can. So please feel free and fire away. But Buzz also seriously, instead of me rambling on for half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever it might wind up being, it's just nice to talk to another Giant fan. So please feel free. By the way, before we get started, if anybody wants to help support my channel out, it would mean the absolute world to me. In the description box below, the very top link in the description box takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. The first one's called the Saquon. Second one's called the Lawrence Taylor. And the third membership level I got is called the Gridiron. Each one's got their own little perks to them. So if you want to help support my channel out, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. If you're subscribed to my channel, once again, thank you. I can use all the support I can get, guys. But if not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way, next time I go live, or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge, right? What do you got to lose? But if you are subscribed to my channel, thank you. And maybe give this video a thumbs up or share it. That would be absolutely freaking awesome. And then finally, also a little ways down in the description box, there's 2 additional links. The top one's a Facebook link, which I'll go over in just a second. Then you have one underneath it. I'm an old-time fart. I can't stand change. The one link underneath it, it's a Twitter link. I'm one of them. I can't stand change. I'm like one of those get off my lawn type of old farts, right? Can't stand change, right? It's Twitter. It's always been Twitter. It'll always be Twitter to me anyway, right? Whatever letter of the alphabet Elon Musk wants to call it, that's on you, bro. I'm not calling it that. It's Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I'll follow you back. That's an absolute promise. I put Giants-related stuff in there every day. Wait. Whoa. Hold on. I woke up my buddy Randy. Got to move the chair for him so we can get in there. All right, buddy. Yeah. All right, pal. Okay, Randy's here. We can continue. All right. And then a link just on top of it, it takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We just reached 8,000 members today. Yay! We were hanging at 7,900 members for a while. The people joining. I mean, once the football season's over, it kind of it dies a little bit. I mean, there's not as much interest as far as joining giant groups, in the off season. Now it's more like we got basketball going on, hockey, baseball's getting ready to start up. You got the final 64 and also. I got there are the diehard Giant fans who are always there, but as far as people joining the groups, there's not as many in the off season. But we just reached 8,000 members. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I have internet access, I'm putting stuff in this group darn near 365. And not only do I put stuff in here, but members post stuff in here as well. So between me and the members, there's a boatload of New York Giants information going in this group every day. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You won't be dissatisfied. I promise. But all that stuff said and done and out of the way with. Well, I mean, I haven't seen anything official. Except for there was, was it Spot Track? I think it was. They had like a listing of NFL transactions, and it said Darren Waller retired from the NFL. But I haven't seen any reports, from the New York Post, the New York Times, nothing, Big Blue View or anything like that saying that Waller retired officially. But I mean, if he hasn't retired, why do we keep? I mean, I ain't got a problem with bringing back Lawrence Cager, but now we got 5, and of course, if I go to the there's a depth chart that I got for the Giants here. All right, where are we at here? 2024 New York Giants depth chart. I mean, but if you look, Waller is not on here, right? I mean, we have. I guess they didn't. Is Cager on there? I don't see where they had a Cager on there. Yeah, but I mean, we got 5 tight ends, and then I mean, things are all pointing toward Waller retiring. I said we got Bellinger, we got Stahl, we got Manhurts, we got Adoree Jackson, and we got Lawrence Cager back. So we got 5 tight ends, and then if we got Waller, that would give us 6 tight ends. Why do we need 6 tight ends? I mean, that's just a bit much. But we did bring back Lawrence Cager. I said everything's really kind of pointing toward Waller retiring, which is, something along the lines of, that's going to be a really good learning experience for Joe Shane. Really, really good learning experience. Because we gave up a 3rd-round pick to get him, and he played 12 games for the Giants, and quite possibly his career's over. So we gave up a 3rd-round pick, somebody who could be possibly with the Giants for 5-10 years or so. And a 3rd-round pick, you can get yourself a nice player. I mean, if not a plug-and-play, starting day one kind of guy, should be a nice contributor. Like Joshua Zudu, or I go over a few guys, but anyway, if you play your cards right, that 3rd-round pick could be a nice pick. Should be a contributor for the Giants. So as you can see, what Shane has been doing is in bringing in free agents who have a healthy health history, shall we say, at least recently anyway, right? Now, I could see, I said, maybe if the Giants are just knocking on that Super Bowl door, right? And we're like, we need if we could get we got the defense, we got the offense, we got the dog, we got our quarterback, whoever that might want to be. We got the tight ends. I'm not the tight end. We got the wide receivers. We got a number 1 wide receiver. We can run him back by committee, but we got the offensive line. We got everything, right? Man, if we could get ourselves a playmaking, or a threat, so that's what it was. It was a mismatch, So if we can get ourselves, like something like that. If we were knocking on the Super Bowl door, and we were like maybe a playmaking tight end away from maybe kicking in that door and saying, "Here we are, baby. We're going to the Super Bowl, right?" And then I could see maybe something like that happening. But I think Shane is like, especially while we're trying to compete, while we're building the roster, right? I'd be rather shocked if he gives up another. I mean, like we gave up a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick for Burns, and we gave up. We paid some do-re-mi to get the guy in here. However, healthy, right? And once again, it doesn't mean he's gonna play the next 5 seasons on his contract with the Giants and never miss a game. Because we're talking New York Giants and injuries, and they just kind of go hand in hand. One another, right? Injuries in the Giants. Hey, how you doing? I'm the Giants. Hey, I'm doing great. I'm injuries. Oh, wow. Looks like we're going to be great friends, right? So we're talking Giants and injuries here. So, right, it kind of goes together like peanut butter and jelly, right? Or maybe you prefer the spaghetti meatballs. But he's bringing in guys who have a healthy track history of being healthy. There you go. That might sound a little bit better, right? The guys he's brought in this season, right? So a little bit of a learning experience. So we just gave away a 3rd-round pick for 12 games. At least we'll be saving some money, right? So we'll get some money back. So it'll help toward the a little bit more toward the salary cap. So that's cool. But I mean, we got, like, as I said, I mean, there's really there's nobody here that scares you. I mean, if you look at, like, our two biggest weapons last season, scary guys, kind of, right? Last season was Saquon. He's a weapon, right? And Waller, he's a mismatch, right? Well, they're both gone. Right, so we got Singletary. Hey, man, I'm happy. I hope he stays with us for a while. I mean, because if you look at it, he's got some moves and stuff like that. So I'm pretty, and he has more tread on his tire than Saquon does. He doesn't get injured like Saquon does. He's a heck of a lot cheaper, unlike Saquon, right? All this stuff and everything. So I'm happy there. But, I got two biggest weapons last season. One was Saquon and the other one was Waller. And quite possibly they're both gone. So we need to replace them. So I mean, we keep bringing them almost like one blocking tight end in after the other. I don't know. So I don't know how many blocking tight ends we need on the roster. We got 5. We got not all blocking tight ends, but we got 5 tight ends now, and really none of them scare you. All right. I mean, Robinson's a nice receiver. Don't get me wrong, especially if you can start coupling him up, maybe with a Dunzier or Neighbors or something like that. Right. Let's not forget Hyatt. Right. We got Slayton, right? But I mean, if you really put down the Giant, I mean, you look, Daniel Jones, Daniel Bellinger, Singletary, Slayton, Robinson, Hyatt. I mean, where do you take that? Was it 6 guys? Take those 6 guys, right, and stack them up against all the other teams in the NFL. They're going to be kind of a little ways down the list as far as, playmaking ability, scariness, and all that stuff. And so that's not where you want to be. It will get elevated a little bit if we bring in our dog and wide receiver, right? That would be nice. And I said maybe next season, we can bring in maybe a receiving tight end or something like whatever. Right, maybe go get yourself a threat of a tight end, receiving threat of a tight end. Said Bellinger's got some very good hands. He's got to do a better job blocking. He did not do a good job last season blocking. He's got to do better blocking, but he's good receiver. He's and he has very good hands, but he's not much of a mismatch like Waller was, or a threat. I mean, it's not like, well, we got Bellinger. I mean, there's 5 catches a game. You count on Bellinger. I mean, there's easily 70, 80 receptions. No. So, but we need to certainly need to add some more firepower. That's for sure. But Giants continued to add veterans to their tight end room this week, retaining Lawrence Cager on a 1-year, $1.1 million deal. Few other minor contracts that are now official. We got Casey Cryer, got Lawrence Cager, $1.1 million with no guarantees. Oops, what did I say? Which is so a minimum contract, which is $1.9 million cheaper than the RFA restricted free agent tendered. So, so $1.1 million for Lawrence Cager. So, I mean, right, we're bringing in guys on the cheap, right? Cager, he's only 26, right? He played in 11 games last season with 4 receptions for 36 yards and a touchdown. Cager will have a lot of competition for the 3rd tight end role. I don't know. They said Cager will have a lot of competition for the 3rd tight end role behind Darren Waller. Well, that's if Darren Waller is playing anymore. From all indications, it doesn't look like it. As I said, I went on the Giants depth chart, and Darren Waller is nowhere near to be found. His name is nowhere near to be found. So, and Daniel Bellinger. So we got basically maybe Daniel Bellinger is now tight end 1. So the Giants are also bringing back Adoree Jackson and added 2 free agents. They got Jack Still. Well, it's Jack Stahl and Chris Manhertz to the roster. So we got plenty. I'm going to Dan Deerdorf you here for just a second. We got a plethora of tight ends. None of them scare you. Okay, I mean, if you add up, I mean, if you look at Stahl and Jackson and Manhertz and Cager, you add up all. I don't know. I didn't bother doing the numbers, but I'll tell you what. You add up all their receptions over those 4 guys' careers, and you're not going to have much more than a few dozen receptions over those 4 guys over their whole career. So I mean, that's there's nobody there that scares you. Maybe some blocking, right? But other than that, as far as anybody scares you, absolutely not. Doesn't mean they can't catch passes, but I mean, you're not going to be putting them out there and it's like, oh, these are the difference maker. We're going to put Cager out there and he's going to be a mismatch. He's going to easily get his 5-6 catches a game. That's not happening. But as I say, we're still in the rebuilding process. I say I'd like to see what the roster is after next season. After next season's free agency and the draft, and we should have a lot of the holes should be most of them should be kind of filled. Right. The big thing, of course, would be what we're doing at quarterback position. But I'm saying after next year's free agency, after this draft, next year's draft and next year's free agency, I think the Giants should be looking pretty good as far as their overall roster. All right, then there was 3 improvements the Giants made to their free agency strategy. Free agency. This is from SI.com. All right. Every year, one can expect an NFL roster to look different than it did the year prior. However, in terms of gauging a roster's potential success, it often comes down to the personnel and the approach behind the moves. Here's a look at some of the approaches Giants general manager Joe Schoen took this year that varied significantly from a year ago on a roster ransacked by injuries and melted into a 6-11 mess. Here we go. The building from the inside out. Everything starts in the trenches. You can't win in the trenches. You're not going to win. Unless you have, if you're lucky enough, maybe to have a Patrick Mahomes or something like that, maybe you can get away with maybe a little weaker offensive line or something, whatever. But, a lot of it starts in the trenches, right? I mean, the Eagles have been kicking our butt in the trenches for years. The Cowboys have been kicking our butts in the trenches for years, right? It starts in the trenches, okay? How many more years of watching the Giants get absolutely thrashed in the trenches would it take for the brass to realize that the trenches had to be prioritized if it wanted to take that all-important first step toward closing the talent gaps with the Cowboys and the Eagles? The message was finally received loud and clear. Schoen realizing that it's pointless to have a fancy running back, a one-time stud tight end, and a promising speed threat receiver if the offensive line doesn't do its job. Made it a point this offseason to address the weakest areas of the team through free agency so that hopefully that group would be able to hit the ground running. Start with the offensive line, a unit whose interior linemen combined to allow 64.8% of the total quarterback pressures. Wow. Surrendered as part of last year's historically bad showing. Schoen added John Runyon Jr., Jermaine Illuminor to the line, 2 veterans projected to be the favorites to fill the starting left and right guard spots. Well, we'll have to wait. Maybe not necessarily. Not necessarily. More on that in a little bit. Aiding those veterans will allow new offensive line coach Carmen Brasillo to work with youngsters such as Josh Rizzuto and Marcus McKeithen, which can be freaking huge. Bring them along, right? They drafted, right? One's a 3rd-round pick, one was a 5th-round pick. You want to keep these guys. You want to keep them, develop them, draft them, develop them, and hopefully keep them on your roster. And if Carmen Brasillo can work some magic with them, I'm not saying they're going to be all pros, Hall of Famers, Pro Bowlers, not like that, but can they be functional, right? But they also have to stay healthy as well, too. Are you listening to me, Evan Neal? We have to stay healthy. So, and obviously with McKeithen and Rizzuto, they're entering their 3rd seasons, whose lack of consistency mixed with their injury histories have stunted their development. So this is the 3rd. They only got 2 more seasons for the Giants anyway, and then they have to make a decision. So, like with McKeithen, if he can't stay healthy this season, right, it'll be 3 seasons he has to stay. Even if he's healthy his 4th season, he's got 3 injury seasons and 3, so, right, so this season is going to be huge. Actually, for both of them, huge. Besides the interior, the question remains if Priscilla can finally bring out the best in third-year right tackle Evan Neal. Shane appears to still think that Neal can be successful at this level playing tackle, but that remains to be seen as to whether Priscilla agrees or if he feels that Neal might be better at left guard with Illuminor moving in at right tackle. On the other side of the ball, Shane finally did something to address a pass rushing unit that last year had Kayvon Thibodeau and then everybody else. Adding Brian Burns gives the Giants a legitimate Batman and Robin duo that, if healthy, should force opponents to pick their poison. This includes potentially having to choose how many resources are necessary to stop Dexter Lawrence, who can also rush the passer but saw some of that production drop off after Leonard Williams was traded. So that's why it would behoove the Giants to try to, maybe they get maybe second round, maybe you can find maybe somebody in the third round to put next to Sexy Dexy, right? Because they. If they're going to put three guys on, if they're going to put the two guards or something, 2-3 guys on Dexter Lawrence, it's like he's going to only be so effective. The guy next to him needs to pick up some of the slack. So the Giants can keep Azeez Ojulari on the field in this. His contract year will be even better as a healthy Burns, Thibodeau, Lawrence, and Ojulari group would give the Giants their best and deepest pass rushing unit since the NASCAR and the 4 Aces packages rule when they rule the field that turned Giants 2 championship seasons. Well, I'll tell you what, if you look at it, if it's third and 17 or something like that, you always got to look for the draw and this, that, and the other thing. But with a Bowen, right, defense, right, they rush the passer. But on the way to rushing the passer, they stop the run, right? But I mean, if there's that third and whatever, right? You got Burns, you got Thibodeau, you can put Azeez Ojulari in there, and you can put Sexy Dexy in there. It could be your front four, right? I'm not sure who would be, and then maybe it's like Kayvon inside and have Azeez and Burns on the outside. That I don't know, but that could be your foursome. You have 4 guys on the field at one time who can rush the passer. Not too shabby. They're staying away from guys with recent injury histories. Oh, yeah. Last offseason, the Giants decided to roll the dice by bringing in some new faces with recent prior injury histories. This list included receiver Paris Campbell. Well, we didn't have to worry about Paris Campbell being injured because he never got on the field. We gave him $5 million, and you just sit there on the sideline and drink some Kool-Aid. That's all you got to do all year, right? Great pickup. Tight end Darren Waller, Tommy Sweeney, and defensive lineman A'Shawn Robinson. Other than for Robinson, who had his season cut short the year prior due to a knee issue, the Giants didn't get much out of Campbell. Well, that's because they had him sitting on the sideline. They didn't get much out of Campbell, Waller, or Sweeney. The Waller acquisition, hailed by many as a coup, considering it only cost the Giants a third-round draft pick and that the promise a healthy Waller offered was so enticing, blew up in the Giants' faces when, after getting through the offseason and training camp unscathed, Waller suddenly appeared on the Week 1 injury report and will later end up on injury reserve again with a hamstring issue. Now, Waller is still contemplating retiring while the Giants have gone about restocking the position. But it also needs to be noted that when the Giants acquired Waller, they immediately restructured his contract so that they would have dead money to eat unless Waller played out the rest of his contract, which is unlikely. This year's acquisitions have a better health history regarding missed games due to injuries. Runyon hasn't missed a game yet in his career. Illuminor has only missed 3 games over the last 3 seasons, and Burns 2 games over that same period. This group of new faces checks all that important box if the best ability is availability. Absolutely. And setting up for a potential transition at quarterback would be the third free agency strategy improvement. One of the many reasons that there are still questions about quarterback Daniel Jones is that the Giants did him no favors after they drafted him 6th overall in 2019. That year, they rushed Jones into the starting lineup after just 2 games, despite the lack of solid, to the starting lineup after 2 games. I thought it was the 4. I thought it was the. He only played 12 games that season. They rushed him in. Let's see here, 2019, the Tampa Bay game. That was at the 5th game of the season. Let's see, New York Giants, 2019. Let's see what game of this was the Tampa Bay game. I mean, I know he had like 1 drive against the Cowboys, but I mean, what Tampa Bay game? Yep. Oh, he got injured. That's why. I forgot. Yep. It was after 2 games. We lost to the Cowboys 35-17, then we lost to the Bills 28-14. And then game 3. Yep. Right they are. Let's see here. So we rushed them in. Absolutely. After 2 games, despite the lack of a solid offensive line or quality of receivers. It's like, yeah, right, yeah, go on the field, see what you can do. But I'll tell you what, I mean, a game against the Bucks, he had a heck of a game, right? 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. Although Jones had a solid rookie campaign between injuries and the team's failure to build around him, he didn't have much of a chance. This time, the team is committed to strengthening the talent around the quarterback position, whoever that guy might be. I mentioned that the offensive line was being upgraded with veteran depth so that the unit could hit the ground running. Hopefully we find a starting 5 and we just roll with them. With Saquon having moved on, the Giants are moving toward a committee approach rather than hanging their hat on a bell cow. And while their receiver corps from last year wasn't horrible, just think of how much better it will be if Shane can add a legitimate number 1 in the mix. Yes, at pick 6. In short, the environment around whoever the quarterback will be moving forward, Shane has said the expectation is it will be Jones once he's healthy. Is definitely going to be in place. What Jones or whoever ends up being the quarterback of this team does with it is another story. So, but I mean, the biggest thing, obviously, the free agency, what they learned, right, is, what I think, right, is bringing in guys who are healthy, especially, I mean, you had to pay Burns, right? That's the one thing that always kind of, especially if you're trading for a guy and you got to give away a couple picks and then you got to pay him. It's like, oof, but at least, they brought in somebody, who seems to hopefully have a lot of potential to him. And hopefully if they couple him up with Kayvon, hopefully they can work off of each other, feed off each other, whatever. And it's the other team's got to pick their poison, which way they might slide the line, right? Whatever. Hopefully both of them, they can stay healthy, which Kayvon has been relatively healthy, right? And Burns has too. Hopefully both those guys can get double-digit sacks. Would be freaking awesome, right? But I mean, I think that's the big thing. And once again, just because you're bringing in guys who don't have a history of getting injured per se, doesn't mean that they're not going to get injured, because it's football and guys get injured, right? But I mean, bringing in guys who have a history of being injured, it's like, I mean, we drafted Azeez Ojulari. Well, the guy can't stay healthy. I mean, Darren Waller, we brought him in for a 3rd-round selection, right? And he was on the injury report every week last season, right? With the hamstring, questionable, doubtful, this and that. So I mean, you want to bring in guys who have a nice injury history, So and he's done that. So that's very, very good. And also, I like that building from the trenches out. Because I'm saying, it doesn't. You can have the Ferrari out here, the Lamborghini over here, right? All these nice toys like that. But if you can't block nobody, right? It was the same thing with the defensive line. If you can't rush the passer, if you can't stop the run, I mean, what are we doing? Right? What are we doing? But it's going to be interesting to see with the Daniel Jones project here. I'm going to get to him in just a minute, but they said, I mean, and I understand, like what Phil, people keep bringing up, well, Phil Simms and, it took him a while and all this stuff and everything. And I get it, so it's 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84. So his sixth season, he took the team to the playoffs, and we beat the Rams 16-13, right? Then we went on the road, and the 49ers smoked us 38-24. No. Oh, sorry, 21-10. 38-24, that was 1981. But 1984, Phil Simms, right? Had a good season. He actually stayed healthy, right? Good season. Said we went into Los Angeles. We won 16-13. They killed us there during the regular. It was like 33-12, I think it was. They killed us. Absolutely, the Rams absolutely killed us. It might have been one of the first week of the season. It was one of the early on in the season. They absolutely killed us in Los Angeles. Well, later on in 84, we went out there, obviously in the playoffs, and we wound up beating them 16-13. So then the following week we went out to San Francisco. We lost 21-10, and the only touchdown we scored in that game was Harry Carson picked off a Joe Montana pass, ran it back in for a touchdown. So we were outclassed there. But Phil Simms started turning things around. He actually started staying healthy. A lot of it was because he started hitting the weights. He started getting a little thicker and all that and everything, and he actually he was surviving on the field. Of course, he didn't survive in 1990 toward the end of the season when he got hurt against the Bills. But anyway, so some people say that. Some people, well, look at Phil Simms. You know what I mean? But all that stuff, and got a good point. It's hard to argue. You know what I mean? But in 1984, with Phil Simms staying healthy and all that stuff and everything, they had three things this year's Giants don't have. Right, so you can say Phil Simms and look what Phil Simms, right? Three things this Giants team don't have, or an organization doesn't have. One's the greatest defensive player of all time, right? We got Dexter Lawrence and all that, but I mean, not only do we have an 84, not only do we have the greatest defensive player of all time, but we also had another Hall of Fame linebacker on the field too. It was Harry Parsons, right? And then also in 1984, we also drafted Carl Banks as well too, right? So we had as I said, just throwing LT out there, So when you say, well, Phil Simms turned things around, and look what the Giants did back, well, as I said, we had Lawrence Taylor, we had and then we had whatever you can say, I don't know, wherever you want to put Belichick at. Top 2 coach, top 3 coach of all time, whatever. And what do you want to put Parcells at? Top 10 coach of all time or whatever. So we had, so I'm not willing to put Dable in the top 10 coaches of all time. I'm not willing to put, any of the other Giant players as the greatest player of all, So when Phil Simms said, people say, well, Phil Simms turned stuff around, but well, he did. He started staying healthy and he showed especially, the Giants did not have, it was no, we had Lionel Manuel and Stephen Baker and, guys like that, trying to throw the ball to, so we did not have the greatest wide receiving weapons out there to throw the ball to. And Phil Simms did a rather nice job, right? We had a good run game, obviously, right? And we had some very good running backs and all. But so when people start talking about Phil Simms turning around, as I said, he stayed healthy, and we wound up winning the Super Bowl all short. But I said, we had the 2 coaches and the greatest linebacker, greatest defensive player of all time were also on those teams. The Giants don't have that now. So you start looking at it too. Is that with Daniel Jones, maybe he can turn around. Who knows? But, in today's NFL, because we're going back 40 years ago, right? We're talking about Phil Simms kind of getting the Giants in 1984 to the playoffs. He stayed healthy. We got to the playoffs. We won a playoff game. That's 85. That's 40 years ago, right? Things are a little bit different now. And then back then, you could draft a quarterback. You keep him maybe on the roster, whatever, something like that. It's not like you draft a guy in the first round and 4 games into his career, you're kicking him to the curb. Like it is nowadays. You need production. We drafted you. You've played 2 games. You stink. We're getting rid of you. I mean, that's the way it is in today's NFL. What have you done for me today? What? We lost the ball game. You stink. You're out of here. I don't care. We picked you number one. You're out of here. You know what I mean? So, I mean, today's, very production-based NFL, we're kind of lucky, we're not lucky, but I mean, Daniel Jones is kind of lucky still that he's still in the conversation of being the starting quarterback for the Giants. I mean, look what Justin Fields did, right? I mean, we just drafted the Bears just drafted him a couple of years ago, and they traded him away for a 6th-round pick. It's like, you got like 2 years, right? Why aren't we at the Super Bowl? What's going on? You stink. You're out of here. We're going to get another quarterback. It's what have you done for me today? Or what have you done for me lately, NFL? So, I mean, to say that Daniel Jones is going into his 6th season and we're still like, no, he might be the quarterback. I don't know. The future? Oh, man. I mean, that dude, must have some rabbit's foots up his butt, or I don't know. He must have 9 lives or something. This will be his 6th season, and we still have no idea if he can be the franchise quarterback for the New York Giants. I mean, and this is going to be, he's had 3 coaches. Yeah, he's had 3 coaches, and none of them, and it's still like, well, I'm not sure if he can be a quarterback. So, I mean, there's going to be another interesting season, obviously, for the New York Football Giants. All right, and we got winners and losers. Giants after the initial free agency push. This is from, once again, it's from SI.com, Giants Country. We have winners and losers. The first winner is Kayvon Thibodeaux. A year after recording his first double-digit sack season and showing that he's well on his way to potentially becoming a disruptor, Thibodeaux will benefit from Burns' arrival, and that moving forward, he won't be able to be the sole target of double teams. No, it's like, pick your poison. Which way, you double team it over here, you're going to double team it. Which way you going, right? And let's not forget about Sexy Dexy. You can't double team all of them. Right? You got to pick your poison. So Kayvon Thibodeaux is a winner. Loser, Azeez Ojulari. Ojulari hasn't been able to stay healthy since he's been drafted in the 2nd round. When he came out, I mean, there was, he had some injury history associated with him. So to see that he's had injury problems in the NFL shouldn't come as much of a surprise. That's why he slid to the 2nd round. If he was healthy, had a clean bill of health, Azeez Ojulari would have been drafted probably in the 1st round. He's entered his contract year this season, but with the arrival of Burns, it's hard to see Ojulari keeping his starting job. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, the thing is that, with Ojulari, yes, this is a huge season for him because he's going to want another contract, or he's going to get it. Somebody's going to sign him. If it's not the Giants, somebody next season is going to sign him. The thing is, if he can't stay healthy, I mean, somebody will sign him next season, but he's going to get maybe like $1 million, right? Or if he does stay healthy and he doesn't produce, so it'll be interesting to see. Now, as I said, his playing time is probably going to go down quite a bit, right? But if the amount of snaps he takes goes down, hopefully the amount of his injury potential might go down as well, too, because he's not playing as many snaps. Now, also, too, right, because the offensive line, the offensive line, the other team's offensive line, as they're walking down the field, just so to speak, right, they don't rotate their offensive linemen, right? They don't have a right tackle on the field for one play and pull him out, put another right tackle and swap him, then take their left tackle, put him on the sideline and swap the guards at it. No, it's the same 5 guys, right? So if they start marching down the field or whatever, they get a little tired. You know what I mean? But with Azeez, and once again, if he can stay healthy, okay, And he's, situational pass rusher. Like I said, like the NASCAR pack, like maybe it's third down and whatever, and he's on the field with Burns and Thibodeau and Sexy Dexy, right? Or if Kayvon needs a blow, or if Burns needs a blow, you bring in a fresh Azeez Ojulari. Now, there's been times when Azeez is fresh and looking good and somewhat healthy and all that stuff, and he goes around that corner, it looks like he's got a rocket up his rear end. I mean, he's just looking really nice, but he's got to stay healthy. But, if Kayvon's on the sideline, right, not getting tired out and all like that, possibly the times he does come in, right, he could be more productive. So, I mean, he might get 300 snaps, just saying, right, this season. If his, if his plays go down, right, the amount of plays he's in now because of Burns and Thibodeau, right? But, those 300 snaps, whatever. He might have 6 sacks or something because he's fresh if he can stay healthy, right? So then you start looking at it. I said, wow, he had 300 snaps, and 300 snaps, he had 6 sacks. Wow. Well, the Giants had 900 defensive snaps for the season. So if he played all 900 snaps, he might have had well over double digits. Wow, that's a good season. So it's going to be a huge season for him. When he gets his chances, can he make the most of it? And can he stay healthy? That's going to be huge. I mean, because unfortunately, usually it is the longer you go along, the more injuries you get and all of that. And, So, but it's a huge season for Azeez. Absolutely huge. I mean, somebody without question will sign him next season. But for how much and who it'll be, who knows? All right, so we got winner, John Michael Schmitz. Yep. The Giants' second-year center struggled last year with the consistency, largely due to the revolving door guards that lay up next to him and who, in some cases, were just as inconsistent, if not worse. While the starting offensive line will need to be sorted out if the projection of Jermaine E. Luminor and John Runyon comes to fruition, Schmitz should be that much better off, given that E. Luminor and Runyon are said to be better at combo blocking and recognizing stunts, which is something the Giants couldn't do last year. Losers, Joshua Ezeudu and Marcus McKethan. Ezeudu, the third rounder, and McKethan, the fifth rounder from the 2022 draft class, have been plagued by injuries that have stunted their respective developments. Last year, both got a chance to start on the offensive line, and both showed they still have a long way to go before they're ready. So hopefully maybe Carmen Brasillo could start working on that. That would be absolutely fantastic. And maybe get these guys, because once again, Ezeudu and McKethan, they got, before their contracts are up, so Gordon wants also, they have to they got to make the roster too, but Shane did draft these guys. Okay, so, he spent a third-round pick on Ezeudu. You just don't want to just get rid of him. McKethan's a fifth-round pick, right? So maybe if Brasillo can start working on some magic with these guys, right, maybe they can be very serviceable for the Giants. And they had 2 more seasons between this season and possibly next season under Brasillo's tutelage, right? Maybe they can warrant another contract, right, if they're serviceable. Where I said, because with Runyon, we got him for 3 seasons, right? Illuminor, so we're not going, we're not riding off to the sunset with a lot of these guys. These free agents we're bringing in. The ideal situation would be to get Ezeudu straightened out and have him be one of the guards. But once again, we'll have to wait and see. But once again, it's all the same thing with Ojulari, Ezeudu, and McKethan. You gotta stay healthy. Your best ability is your availability. If you're not available, thanks for shopping at Kmart. We'll see you later. All right. It says the winner. It says the quarterback. After adding 4 draft picks in the last 2 seasons to the offensive line, only to see those picks struggle in their respective development, the Giants, as expected, went the veteran route, bringing guys who are maybe a little further along in their development and who can hit the ground running. And also, let's not forget about bringing in Carmen Brasilla, too. I think that was a very, very big pickup for the Giants. This, in turn, allows new offensive line offensive line coach, Carmen Brasilla, to work with some of these younger offensive linemen to prepare them for a bigger role on the team moving forward. Absolutely. But, I mean, hopefully, the quarterbacks hopefully should benefit from that. It can be very interesting to see. We had 85 sacks last season. What do we come down to this season? It'll be very interesting. Loser, Tommy DeVito. Yep. Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan was a fantastic story last season with a sudden rise to fame. While he showed he could hold his own with the big boys after being rushed into the lineup thanks to injuries, right now it looks as though he's going to be at least the third-string quarterback on his team behind Jones and Locke. Then, of course, let's not forget if the Giants draft a quarterback, once again, whoever, like Hendon Hooker or the Rattle Man or something like that, maybe in the third round or something like that, if that's the case, right, Chicken Cutlet Parmesan is definitely on the practice squad, right, and somebody can come in there and pluck him, right? But, without question, he's on the practice squad. Because of the Giants, we got Daniel Jones, right? Well, we got Drew Lock. And if we draft a quarterback like Rattler or whoever, right? We've probably got 3 guys under 53, right? As I said, which leaves no room for Tommy Chicken Cutlet Parmesan. He's got to have a bunch of guys in front of him get injured if he's ever going to make it to the field. So we got winner, Trey Hawkins the third. This is the second. I think it's Trey Hawkins the third. Let me see here. Cornerback. Does it have it there? Cornerback. Yeah, it's Trey Hawkins the third. Here in this article, they have Trey Hawkins the second. That's the third. Giants tried to land a veteran cornerback in Darius Williams, but he ended up signing with the Rams. That's good news for Hawkins, the second-year player who last summer dazzled in training camp enough to earn a starting assignment, only to hit an early wall and end up being knocked back into a reserve role. That the Giants, at least as of this writing, still haven't found a cornerback. Haven't brought in haven't had a cornerback, number 2, free agent come in, right? The line up opposite of Deonte Banks could be very well a positive sign for Hawkins, who now looks like he'll get another chance at winning the cornerback job. So he'll have a chance. Then we have the last one is the loser, Evan Neal. Neal hasn't lost his starting job at right tackle just yet. More on that in just a minute. And who knows? He might very well flourish under Carmen Brasilla's tutelage. I'll tell you what, with the offensive line, a lot of it is coaching. Wow. A lot of it's, you got to have the heart. It's not easy. Look at me like I'm talking, right? But, you got to get beat up and bad. You got to keep going at it. It's not easy, right? It can't be easy, And, guys obviously they got to take care of their bodies and eat properly and study and all that stuff and everything, so obviously a lot of what the guys, the offensive linemen, what their performance is on the field, it's got a lot to do with them. But a lot of it also has to do with coaching. You'd be amazed. It's just simply amazing. You get certain coaches, offensive line coaches, it's like they go to this team and it's like all of a sudden that offensive line is really good. It's like, wow. The year before that, they sucked. Now this so-and-so, this offensive line coach took over, and they're like top 10. Wow, that's pretty good. I can't remember the guy, the Eagles offensive line coach. He's been with them for like 10 years now. He is unbelievable. Well, then as I said, he's an unbelievable coach. Obviously top 2 or 3 or whatever in the whole league. Fantastic coach. Well, he's been with the Eagles for 10 years, 11 years, whatever it's been. Well, they've had it, however many years, they've had an unbelievable offensive line. Well, why? Because he's there. So coaching is absolutely huge. But Evan Neal, one thing appears to be for certain. Neal, the 7th overall pick in the draft 2 years ago, isn't locked in for the starting job. Not with the Luminor being on the roster and capable of playing tackle. As our Raiders colleagues have told us, new Giants offensive line coach Carmen Basilla's approach to coaching is that unless you're top 5 of your position, a.k.a. Andrew Thomas, you better be ready to compete and trained at multiple positions. Now, what does this mean for Neal? Who last year, before landing on injury reserve, told reporters that he was born to play tackle. Well, okay. This unlikely means he'll get some cross-training at guard. Will he be receptive to cross-training if approached with it, or will he resist? One would like to think Neal will put the team's needs ahead of his own. But if he does end up resisting, that could very well jeopardize his future with the team. Yep, absolutely. I mean, of course, he's a top 7 pick or whatever in the draft. Even the Giants let him go, somebody's going to pick him up. I mean, not quite. I mean, there's not many. What is he? 6'5", 6'6", 6'7", 340-pound human beings walking the earth. Okay, somebody's going to pick the guy up. Somebody's going to give him a contract. And if he goes to the right situation, he might gel there. But I mean, as of right now with the Giants, he might have to be a little receptive to quite possibly, at least do some training and guard. But once again, more than that, just a couple minutes here. Then finally, we have, not finally, I'm sorry, I got 2 more things here. The $23 million question. Giants insider warns $23 million guarantee may factor into eventual quarterback move. New York Giants 2024 offseason has been all over the map at quarterback. There has been talk of aggressive trade-ups in the draft, veterans additions, taking a quarterback at number 6 overall, selecting one later to develop behind Daniel Jones and more. Don't forget the brief Russell Wilson visit. As the dust settles after round 1 of free agency, however, we still have Jones atop the depth chart, followed by new signing Drew Lock, and then Tommy DeVito. Of course, this 3-man group doesn't preclude the Giants from drafting a quarterback in April. New York Giants insider Jordan Renan addressed the latest on Big Blue quarterback room during the March 15th episode of his Breaking Big Blue podcast, and he reminded fans of a very important financial clause that could end up impacting who eventually starts at the position. After breaking down the John Schneider comments that hinted Locke could get the opportunity to compete for the starting job of the Giants, Renan noted that the new veteran backup later acknowledged Jones is still the Week 1 starter, assuming his health. Having said that, the media member isn't convinced that he'll last. The smoke keeps building around Daniel Jones, Renan voiced, building and building and building. And usually, what's the saying? When there's smoke, there's fire. Yep. There's an injury guaranteed out there with Daniel Jones, $23 million for 2025. He continued, if he gets injured sometime this season, the Giants will be on the hook for $23 million next season. Renan went on to explain that he's not saying Daniel Jones won't start Week 1, but all the recent quarterback smoke leads to him ponder how long he'll remain as the starter. Now, Shane has always said many, many times, right? If Daniel Jones, I expect Daniel Jones to be the starter Week 1 if healthy. He just said Week 1 if healthy. He didn't say Daniel Jones is healthy Week 1. He's the starter, and he's the starter till the cows come home, baby. He just said, I expect Daniel Jones to be I believe, if I remember correctly. Daniel Jones is healthy Week 1. He's expected to be our starter. Yep, Week 1. As his article is kind of hinting around to, it doesn't mean he's going to be the starter maybe all season long. It's $23 million. That's quite a nice chunk of change. That's a good ball play. I mean, if they move on from him, they save those $23 million or whatever, right? That's a good ball player you can be bringing in. $23 million. The short leash would point to the Giants drafting a new quarterback. If Renan is correct in deducing that the Giants may have a very short leash at quarterback, due Jones' large $23 million injury guarantee, the likelihood is that General Manager Joe Schoen and head coach Brian Daboll will draft a quarterback in April. After all, Locke has been in the league since 2019. He has a career completion percentage of 59.7% with 23 career interceptions compared to 23 passing touchdowns. Says, with Daniel Jones, how quickly are they willing to pull the plug? The reporter questions. How willing are the Giants to play him in the second half of the year? It's going to be very interesting. No matter what the Giants may or may not have told Locke to get him to choose New York over Seattle, he is probably not the long-term answer at quarterback either. So if the idea is pull the plug on Jones at the first sign of trouble, also Renan alluded, it'd be more likely to be a rookie quarterback that takes his job instead of Locke. Could Locke get an opportunity as a bridge starter for a few games in 2024, depending on where the Giants are in the standing? It's certainly possible. But this injury clause and the weight that it carries definitely points to Big Blue drafting a quarterback of the future. Remember, the Denver Broncos benched the aforementioned Wilson for the same reason in 2023. Yeah. So, it's a big injury clause, right? So it's going to be interesting to see. It'd be hard to think that, let's say the Giants, whatever. Boo, it's week 11, we played 11 games, and say the Giants are, 7-4, 6-5, something like that. And they have, 6 games left, and they got some winnable games coming up and all that stuff. And we're 6-5. We got a good shot at making the playoffs and all of that. It'd be hard to pull the plug on Daniel Jones. We're going to let Danny DeVito go in there and tank the season for us or something like that. So, be interesting to see, but that's certainly something to keep an eye on, especially, if the Giants were to draft a quarterback, possibly in the future. I'd have a hard time, once again, in 2004, actually when Kurt Warner, we were actually 5-2 at one point. We lost, I think, was it to the Bills and the Lions, or the Cardinals and the Lions? Maybe it was the Cardinals and the Lions. We lost. We were 5-2. We lost 2 games in 2004. We went from 5-2 to 5-4. 9 games we played. We had 7 games left to go in the season. We're in a playoff hunt. This, that, and the other thing. And what did Coughlin do? Pulled the plug basically on the season. Let's put Eli Manning in there. So what did he do? He wound up losing the first 6 games. He finally won the final game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys, 28-24. But by that time, the season was long gone. Right, long gone. We went from 5-2 to 5-10. So we were 5-4, right in the middle of playoffs. Right, Kurt Warner's a good quarterback. He fumbles the ball a lot. He holds the ball. He doesn't like throwing interceptions. Amani Toomer also mentioned that he doesn't like throwing Hail Marys to the end zone, especially at the end of the first half and stuff like that, because it might get intercepted, might hurt his quarterback rankings or something like that. Good old team player, Kurt Warner is. But he was a very, very, obviously a very good quarterback. But, Tom Coughlin pulled the plug on the season. We were 5-4, pulled the plug, and basically gave up any chance of going to the playoffs. And, of course, we lost the first 6 games. Eli Manning was in there, right? And then we wound up winning the last game of the season. But we went from basically 5-2, and then we were 5-10. Won the last game of the season to finish the 2004 season 6-10. But going to be interesting to see, as I said, especially if we draft a quarterback. But, it's like, it's like we're like 6-5, just saying, right? And we're in a playoff hunt, or we're close to being, or 5, maybe 5-6, 5-6, 6-5. Pull the plug, pull Daniel Jones. Let's put Spencer Rattler in there for the final 5-6 games or so. I don't know how that's going to go down. But once again, it could be very interesting to see, because that $23 million clause, Daniel Jones gets injured, right? And that $23 million clause, that's a lot of money. They said that's one real good stud, or a couple couple real nice players that we could be bringing in. I mean, you look, we brought in Runyon, Illuminor, and Singletary for about $21 million, 21, 22, whatever it is. So you can get yourself bringing some nice free agents, right? So be interested to see. Very, very interested to see. Something more to keep an eye on. And then finally, Evan Neal. Giants reached out to Evan. Who is this? From Giants Wire. Who wrote this here? I just want to make sure. Does it say? It's got to say. Come on, man. Is it Dan Benton? Is that what it is? I guess so. Maybe Dan Benton. Giants reached out to Evan Neal's team about moving to guard. The New York Giants focused heavily on retooling their offensive line over the first week of free agency, signing Illuminor, John Runyon, Aaron Stinney, and Austin Schlottman. It's either Schlottman or Slotman. The group, only Illuminor, has significant experience at tackle. But I'm going to go over that in just a minute, right? After their introductory press conferences, it seems like Runyon and Illuminor are slated to play guard, with the other two, Slotman and Stinney, serving as backups. It would also mean that Evan Neal reassumes his role as the team's starting right tackle. Evan Neal is a really good player, in my opinion. I think he has a lot of potential, Illuminor told reporters. But those roles aren't quite set in stone, at least not yet. Jordan Renan reports that the Giants have reached out to Neal's team to discuss the possibility of him moving to guard, more specifically to left guard alongside Andrew Thomas. Tell you what, boy, you put those two guys together, you have almost 700 pounds of beef on that one side there. That could be pretty impressive. So I'm very anxious to see what Evan Neal can do at guard. Keeping the dude in the phone booth instead of watching a speed rusher run around them. But Evan Neal also has to stay healthy as well, too. I've also heard that the Giants had talked with Evan Neal's team a little bit about playing left guard, Renan said on the Breaking Big Blue podcast. For now, Neal remains penciled in at right tackle, but Renan doesn't believe that will remain the case long term, unless, of course, Neal drastically improves. Evan Neal, from what I understand, is the right tackle only until he's not the right tackle, Renan said. Which is true. General Manager Joe Schoen has refused to publicly entertain the idea of Neal moving inside to guard, but it's slowly becoming the most likely outcome. Expect Neal and Illuminor to see time at right tackle throughout the summer, with a final decision being made closer to week one. Now, as I said, I mean, if you look at their grades, right, from Pro Football Focus, I mean, it's like, I mean, holy cow, Batman. I mean, all right. We got Illuminor last season, okay? His overall offensive grade last season was a 75.3. Evan Neal, 39.8. Half of what Illuminor's grade was. And, of course, Illuminor played the whole season. Evan Neal got injured halfway through the season. Run blocking grade for Illuminor, 75.7. Evan Neal, 51.1. Pass blocking, Illuminor, 70. Well, this is under Carmen Basillo. And he played right tackle and one game at left tackle, right? But is that right tackle for Illuminor last season under Carmen Basillo? His pass blocking, 76.1. Last season, Evan Neal, pass blocking, 38.5. It was half of what Illuminor's grade was. Now, here we go. Evan Neal played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, played basically like 7 games, not even half the season. He gave up 30 pressures in half the season. Okay, let's go. Evan Neal played 460 snaps. No, all right, okay, all right. Illuminor played 940 snaps. So basically, Illuminor played twice as many snaps as Evan Neal. Illuminor last season at right tackle, in twice the amount of snaps, gave up 26 pressures. 26, according to PFF. 26. Evan Neal in half the snaps, gave up 30 pressures. So at that same pace, Evan Neal would have gave up 60 pressures, over 60 pressures probably, while Illuminor gave up 26. We go the year before that, Evan Neal played 862 snaps and Jermaine 940. So kind of very close to about the same amount of snaps. Let's see here. What do we got? Oh, wait. I'm sorry. I got these. This is Jermaine. Jermaine's 2022 season. That was his 22. Last season, 2023. Jermaine was 68.5, 71.5, and 64.4. Once again, and he gave up 28 pressures, while Evan Neal gave up 30. So he still gave up a lot less pressures. But Jermaine Illuminor in 2022 only gave up 26 pressures. I mean, great, He get 2022. Jermaine Illuminor gave up 26 pressures, played 940 snaps. Evan Neal in 2022 played 862 snaps, right? And he gave up 52 pressures. He gave up twice as many pressures once again. So basically, in Jermaine Illuminor, right, in the last two seasons, he's given up, 54 pressures. And he's played more snaps. He played more snaps than Evan Neal, gave up 54 pressures. Evan Neal playing far less snaps, gave up 82 pressures. Yeah, Evan Neal's rookie season was a 41. His run block was a 48. Pass block was a 42. Last season, his pass block was a 38. I mean, just horrible. Absolutely horrible. So once again, it doesn't mean, as I said, a lot of it has to do with coaching. So, can Carmen Basile work his magic? Who knows? But I'll tell you what, if you put him inside, you're not going to have to worry about the speed rushers around the edge or nothing like that. I said, if you put Neal and Thomas together, man, that could be a heck of a side of the line of scrimmage. You put maybe John Michael Schmitz, and then man, that could be a nice threesome right there. So be interesting to see. But one thing is for sure, right, is what Carmen Basile, right, is that he likes versatility. So I said, so unless you're Andrew Thomas, be prepared to play other positions. So I mean, I won't be shocked at all. Even if Evan Neal's the starter at right tackle week 1, don't be surprised at all during the training camp and mini whatever like that. You see Evan Neal playing at guard. So, all right, guys, it's been 1 hour and 7 minutes. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. If anybody spends any time watching the replays, once again, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Means the world to me. Love you, man. So, as always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.